What's up, everybody? This is Edward back with another video. I know I always say that I'm always lying, so we'll see if I'm gonna be a liar today. But this is gonna be a quick video. I'm just doing a test. I got me another phone, an iPhone, a little rinky-dink iPhone. So I'm just testing it out real quick to see. So I wanted to do this quick video for Masterteacher1 real quick. So let me know. I also got my AT&T service back. Yay. So let me know if it skips or it does any of that. Let me know during the chat if it's doing any of that. What's up, Mr. Pump It Up? So anyway, let me jump right into it. So first of all, this video is not a response in the sense where I don't agree with everything he said. There's like really one, maybe two, really one thing that I disagree with. But over the overall premise of the video, I completely agree with. Also, keep in mind, this is what he did in 2018. So this is 2 years old. I was just scrolling down, some of my, some videos I was seeing in my homepage on YouTube, and this came along, and I wanted to see what he thought, which is pretty much in line with what I thought he would say. So a couple of quick things too. Number one thing I want you all to understand about YouTube is presentation matters. And when I say presentation, let me know if you can hear me too. Press 1 if y'all can hear me. Press 1 if y'all can hear me. So what's up, Marcus? So presentation matters. And when I say presentation, I'm not talking about so much how you look. I'm talking about how you position an argument. I can position an argument in many different ways, as far as high level intensity, low level intensity. And a lot of times that depends on the audience I'm either trying to communicate this message to. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going soft on something or something like that. It just means that I'm trying to frame a situation in such a way so it's more digestible to whatever particular audience. A lot of people don't keep that in mind when they're commenting on somebody like Obsidian or anybody that say something and then maybe they're saying something in a different way. So I think the audience has this thing where they want red meat all the time. And we know what it is. You all should see somebody's track record over time as to what they think. And unless they've made consistent change or a consistent alteration to that track record, you should understand that depending on where they're at or how they're at, things have to be presented in a different situation. Do not think about it as somebody trying to, be so much manipulative or an excuse for people to just double talk. It's more so, think of it like, you can think of it like alcohol, but just think about it like sometimes you have to say things in a little bit longer way in order to get people there, rather than just saying, what the bottom line is. I'm a very bottom line type of person. This is why I rub people the wrong way a lot of times, because I'm a bottom line type of person. Now, as much as I like to talk about the nuances of things, and I do, at the end of the day, if somebody wants to bottom line me, I can always immediately jump to that. And oftentimes, the reason why I cut people off as much as I do is because I can tell, I know what your bottom line is, and I have a very strong accuracy on that. I know what your bottom line is, and all you're trying to do is try to manipulate the situation to get aware, to not really establish your bottom line. I'd rather you establish your bottom line than try to walk me through how you got there. Don't try to walk me through where you're going and then you're trying to figure a way to stick the landing. I can tell those type of people. So usually what I'll do is I'll cut them off and I'll tell you your bottom line for you, and then you either agree or disagree. And then I say, okay, if that's not what it is, then explain to me why that's not what it is. And as you notice, a lot of people can't do that. They start, and that really abrupts people a lot. If you tell them what they're about to say and then they know they're about to say it, they usually can't pivot from that. It was what Eminem did on that the movie 8 Mile. He had nothing to say. And a lot of dudes, they have nothing to say because they don't know how to remix something in such a way to come back off of that. This is why people often get mad at me, by the way. But anyway, all right, appreciate it. So anyway, so as far as Masterteacher1, he did a video about 2 years ago. It's probably 2 years ago now, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, called What is His Thoughts on the Black Women? It is in the description below. I also shared it on my community tab. It goes down in the community tab. So definitely, hit up my community tab more, because I definitely want to see more activity on that, because I not only share my videos, obviously, but I more so share other videos, because obviously you can go to my videos to see my videos. So I share, so anyway, it's just another way, if because everybody's not going to be on Facebook. So I think it's one of the better features YouTube actually has. and very happy they had with it. But anyway, he did this video 2 years ago, and I guess a woman, he was doing a video for people to ask him about one, and a woman asked him what is his thoughts on black women. Now, one thing that he says in the video is he had been out of the United States since 2010, which is now he's at a decade. Which that's awesome. That's really interesting because I didn't know that. I knew he currently was in the United States, but I did not know um, that he had been gone for that long. And you will get. I remember the perspective that I got in just being gone 5-6 months. So I can only imagine you being gone that long, how like divorced from stuff you are when it comes to American media, when it comes to American influences, especially somebody like him that travels like he does. He's also a good example of guys that are not currently in the United States, how if they show where they are, a lot of time, not show like personally, but you know what I'm saying, the stuff that's on the ground where they see, how there's actually a very good channel behind that. And that would speak to a lot of UK brothers, because people in the United States don't go to London like that. So there's a lot of things that is, I always say this, everything, everywhere is exotic to somebody somewhere, right? So anyway, that's for the UK brothers to take advantage of. That being said, he did this video, and I agree with most of what's said in the video, first of all. And the stuff that I don't agree with, I'm not about to go in heavy on, but it's just something I want to correct. In this video, he states that, and when I say he states it, it's just something that's out there, because I've heard many other brothers say it. It is something that's generally accepted, which is actually a problem, but that's not so much on him. That's more the society of it, as if that black women are the most educated group in the United States of America. That is actually false. That black women were the most educated group one year if you like jerry-rigged the numbers a certain type of way. And it made a good story that attracts eyeballs, which is why people make stories. So they put it out there, and then black women have been going with that ever since. It's the same thing with it was a swirling statistic talking about when black women say that their non-black marriages are far stronger than like normal marriages, which was true 1 year. And even in that year, when you actually look at context, there is no context to that. Now, but the first thing is what Master Teacher said specifically, because he didn't say the thing about the marriage. The first thing is generally accepted. And it's something I've heard from, there's a guy by the name of Dale Gines, who is, very, very, when I say light-skinned dude, I mean, basically mixed, mulatto dude, but he speaks very well. He's very good on black community. I think he's somebody I often listen to if I was going to listen to Boyce Watkins, because he just broke things down in a way that was minus all that fluff that Boyce did. But Dale used to say the same shit, but he would back the numbers up with it. He would say this as far as not educated, but growing as far as the business ownership. And what folks don't understand is, in my opinion, these things in general do actually more harm to black women than they do good, saying that. Because at the end of the day, it keeps them in a perpetual cycle of just this, they have already arrived type of shit. And they're just waiting for black men. And in the context of this George Floyd shit, anyway, let me keep it on Master Teacher real quick, and then I'll dive all to other shit. So he said that, and then his response to that was that black men need to step their game up when it comes to education. Okay, divorce, minus that, I would kind of agree, but the thing about it is, college education, here's the thing. The way I look at education is a couple of ways. Technically, if you're in the military and you get skills, you're educated. If you go to trade school and stuff like that, you're educated. And this is not to say that he doesn't think that's education, but it needs to be understood that men get educated very differently than women do. Women typically do not equate skills to education. Like a woman that is very good at being a hairstylist and hair salon that has her own shop, she's not going to be seen with the same amount of education as a chick that came from the Ivy League, even though just because she came from the Ivy League don't mean nothing. She could have got a liberal arts degree. It's something he referenced about BS degrees, where if men shouldn't get BS, you should get marketable degrees. So it's marketable degrees because it leads you to skills. What you can do, your capacity to get money in this economy is really what is determined by your true education. We'll say legally, but that's what determines your real education. This idea that men should go into debt and go to school just because. Now, to be fair, he talked about marketable skills like tech, mathematics, all that stuff. So he's definitely on point with that. He has an economics degree himself. So he understands that. But these are things, this is why I'm doing my video added on. Also, this idea that black men need to get degrees to catch up to black women, you know, it feeds into this thing of black women have already arrived, and they haven't. Most black women are not educated in the sense of they have degrees. Most black women, I would argue, are not educated. You know, if we're going to look at black women as a collective, even if you separate it by like 20 to 35 or 18 to 29, no matter how you segment that, most black women are not in this situation where they all got degrees and they're just waiting for black men to catch up. And that's not true. That is not true. That is not true in that sense. Not in the same sense of, well, these women are educated and there's just too many black men that are bums. The reality is the reason black women have always been able to get more the book smarts because they've been allowed to get that. But at the same time, that education has never always translated to income. They still depended on dudes that had the blue collar jobs, the economic stuff like that. So it creates a warped view of what's going on. And so to say that the solution is a solution to the problem that's never been established, it's just the same stuff spinning circles. But at the same time, you have to present information a certain type of way, because if you tell black women anything they don't really want to hear, then they're just going to tone you out. But it is what it is. So as men, and here's another thing, let's say men collectively get their economic game on point, whether that's getting degrees, getting skills, because I do agree that black men do need to step their game up overall when it comes to skills, not necessarily catch up to women for themselves. And to be fair, he said that too, not necessarily for women for themselves. At the end of the day, though, black women have demonstrated that as a group, they do not value competing for their men. They really don't. They see their men from a perspective of ownership, which means when you talk, if I were to sit with a group of women, let's say Janae, now fast forward Janae, and I forget what the other black woman's name is, and you talk about competing and you take black men off the table, I promise you they're going to have it's going to be a much more productive conversation than if you talk about them competing for like black men of a certain caliber. So if you say black men that make like 100,000 and plus, but they are black, versus talking about other races of men, regardless what they make, it's going to be a different conversation, because the culture here has imprinted them that black men have no value no matter what they make. As a group, this is how they think. So the reality of the situation is, when we're talking about, you know, women stepping up, that saying that they're most educated, they're not the most educated. Not even close. How are you the most educated, but you're the most in debt? Which tells you that when it comes to life skills, when it comes to things like finance, clearly you can't be that educated. Not overall. So that's the kind of thing, you know, but that's the main part of the video that I really disagree with. The other part was the idea of, he mentioned weave, which he was cool with. He said he didn't like weave, natural hair. Okay, why women get their natural hair? Now, he was correct in saying it's societal pressures. It's perceived societal pressures. There is some societal pressure for them to look a certain way. But I think one thing that doesn't get understood is black women buy into these pressures. Black women buy into the caste system as it is. They just don't like their place in it. So they're going to do things like, think about it. Why would a woman go through as much as they go through to wear weave and do all these hairstyles that fucks up your hair if you at some level are not competing? What are you competing for? You're competing for validation of a society that was never fundamentally built to validate you. That's really the issue. It's the same thing when women in Africa. I literally had a Facebook post. I don't know how I got this shit of a female trying to sell light skin cream, like some Nigerian. Why would you do that? Because obviously it's the attention that comes along with the higher levels of society. And the thing about it is you have this dual BS going on where feminism says you shouldn't seek that, but at the same time they're seeking it. You should, but you shouldn't. And then what happens is somehow black men get blamed for all of that when we don't control the levers for that society. But so now the other part, and this is something I definitely agree with, but I want to add on to, is this idea of you can't, because he went through stereotypes. That's what he was going through. Controlling a female. A female talk about, I need a man that can handle me. A woman is supposed to be the calm in the storm. You know how you have a hurricane and there's the eye of the hurricane? That's what a woman is supposed to be. That is what a woman, when she chooses a man to submit to, which is what she's supposed to, that is what a man, a woman is not supposed to be a business partner that you fucking go back and forth with. That is not what that shit is supposed to be. Because generally, if you're in partnership, there's equal value being brought to the table. Versus most relationships, men are bringing far more to the table than what women are. And that's how it's always been. And this is why men have typically had control of the relationship. Typically, this is why men are supposed to be deferred to. This is why men tell other men to not get into situations where that's not true. Oh, the money situation was another one. I'm about to jump into that too. But this idea of a woman that is said, well, it doesn't matter that I'm masculine. I am masculine because I'm masculine in front of men that basically are weak. Well, first of all, why are you in front of those men? That's the first thing I'm going to say. And second of all, it's interesting because women love to talk about this thing about being feminine and masculine depending on who you're dealing with. But if you notice, if you put a woman in front of dudes like a black man that has a certain level, they are going to make up excuses. They're going to make up excuses as to why they want to deal with that. Either he's too light skinned, or he's not tall enough, or he's too square. They're going to come up with something. Because at the end of the day, it can't be that they're programmed a certain type of way and they operate a certain type of way. This has nothing to do with what they choose. I'm speaking specifically to their outcomes. So if black women as a group were happy with their relationship outcomes, black men would have nothing to say, because at that point it would be black men whining. The manosphere in particular is really built on not only black men, but it's also built on responding to the lack of outcomes. Black women will say, I don't have favorable outcomes because black women are fucked up. Okay, if black men are the control group, let's then have you deal with the variable, let's remove that variable. Shout out to O'Shea doing the latest video in the swirler taking the L. So, and this goes back to the thing I brought up with the marriage shit. You know, the truth is, the reason why black female marriages are so strong with non-black men is because typically, if you look at who activates the divorce, it's always going to be the man, because the woman is going to stay there no matter what. They put up with shit they would never put up in a black relationship. It doesn't matter why they do, hence their strength. When in most marriages, regardless of race, women are typically the ones activating, breaking the marriage. Doesn't matter what the dude did, that's just who filed the papers. So this is why it's perceived that those marriages are that strong, and they're that strong too, because it's very few black women are getting married to non-black men. So the value on those relationships and what that means to their own personal validation is what usually is what's driving that number. But see, people don't want to talk about that. They want to run on that. But that's outside of what he said on the video. Yeah, because the truth is, a woman is, let me tell you something. If a woman is attractive to you, you're never going to have to handle her. Unless she's dealing with a dude that just likes fuck shit like that. So some dudes like that. Some dudes, they grew up in households where security was considered boring. And that's another thing that goes on with black women and black culture in America is security is supposed to be boring. And this is a poverty mindset. It's almost like, think of it like having a car. Angry Man talked about this when a few weeks ago, when he talked about, you know, how he had a car that he never had like a newer car because he just didn't feel the need to get one because it's kind of like a newer car, newer money, newer that, all that. And I've had the same mentality. I had the same mentality too. You know, it's kind of like I'd rather have shit cash, shit paid for, but when shit fucks up, it's like all the other issues that happen. This is how a lot of people see relationships. They don't value security and then want to build on that because you trust. They want the crazy shit because that's how they feel love. That's their crazy shit, and chaos is their love. Oh, that should be a video on its own. Is chaos your love language? Is abuse your love language? Shout out to Class to Ruby. She talked about love languages. And that's a lot of people's love language. That's a lot of women's love language. That's a lot of men's love language. And that really speaks to the patterns of people that they deal with. And it's everything but that one thing. So when people say, you gotta be able to handle me, what they're saying is I come with bullshit. And you have to be able to tolerate that bullshit. And the truth is, if you are a man of means, and if you get yourself to a point where you have options, this is why you should never limit your options. You won't hear that shit. You just don't. Like, let's keep this all the way 100. There are very few black men, really, that are like that can get bitches, get really good looking females of other races. They just decide to only fuck black women. There are actually very few black men that do that. So this idea of the black woman only, that's bullshit. There are some dudes, but it is not as many as what people like to think it is. Because at the end of the day, mixing is natural, is what BGS said. So anyway, going back to the money piece, and it's another thing he said, but this was referring to the first part, was he was talking about, you know, how it is natural for men to date down and women to date up, which I agree with. And he was talking about, well, women are not. Because when we talk about how black women are making money, it really just flies in the face of all the help they get. The government help, government assistance, the fact they're easily able to get hired more. It makes it seem like they're really pulling themselves by the bootstraps on their own. And then black men are just not doing that, which is not really, it's never been the case. This is why when you see this economy fucking reorganizing, black women are taking the biggest hit. This is why when you see the student loan debt, black women have the most student loan debt. And they don't necessarily have the most degrees because all of them ain't finished in school or they finish with bullshit degrees. But anyway, here's the thing about that. That is true on the surface. But whenever we are really looking at the black community, and keep in mind, he's responding to a black female, so you got to say something a certain type of way. But whenever you're looking at the black community, you can compare and use as a frame of reference the general how things generally work. But the black community was built structurally to be very different than how the general society is. And this is why the community operates like it operates. The truth with that is black men are not really supposed to lead in the black community. The way the community is structured is black men are supposed to look good and black women are supposed to be the brains of the operation. That's how women really want it. The problem is a lot of your complaints are really built on the fact that these women can't find the men they want, look-wise or sexually. So what happens is they try to flip and play the level up game and then say, well, then I might as well be rich. Meaning these other dudes, they can probably hop the fence and get much, much better deals, are supposed to basically buy these chicks off, which is something that SP talked about a long time. And at the end of the day, if somebody's gonna play that game, then you're gonna get the better deal. Because at that point, dudes have to really ask themselves, what value is race, or what value really is culture? And men have every right to do that if that's the deal you're gonna trump. And see, this is where we get into colorism and all this other bullshit. But the truth is, this is the myth of all these black women making 180, 90K, like 10% or 20% are doing, 1 in 5 are doing that, and then it's just no man that they can find. The truth is the men, they want the men that are making more money, but another truth for that too is the more money you make, the harder it is to find those men, especially if you're only focused on a certain group of men. And it doesn't even have to be race. If you're saying, I want a guy that's 6 foot or 5'11", and then I want to put in all these factors, like people don't understand. If you say you want to do this like 5'11 plus or 5'10 plus, or let's say 6 foot plus, you've already cut out like what 75% of men just off that. Then if you talk about 6 figures, you know, then you've cut off, even if you don't account for race. saying that if a dude makes six figures or more, you've already cut out at least 80% of men, and 70, and which a lot of those guys that work that hard and make that money is to make up for the fact that they may not have the height or natural sexual shit that gets them the bitches easy. That's why they have to have that. And then you've also cut off a lot of, so those are two big things that cuts off a hell of a lot of dudes. Then if you add in race, then if you expect this motherfucker to be monogamous. So at the end of the day, and remember, the question was, how did he feel about black women? So I'm kind of breaking it down, kind of ancillary to what he said, but at the end of the day, those add-ons are pretty much my add-ons. So as far as how he feels about them, those are his opinions. What I'm saying is kind of what the stuff is, not so much to beat up on sisters, but it's to let sisters, it's the same thing I tell dudes. You need to be aware of what your environment is and what you're really up against. And at the end of the day, he ended that, the black community would be better if everybody stepped their game up. Ultimately, that might be true, but really in the short term, there would be a lot of pain. Because if dudes really step their game up, dudes are going to do what they're already doing. I referenced you to BGS Igmore's video, what he just did, where he responds to Gab, talk about intermixing. And basically, dudes are going to find the best deal. And race will have a big appeal, but race will not be the universal trump everything. No, and Masterteacher doesn't think that way either. But that's not what it is. And what black women expect is for black men to step their game up and only choose black women. Which, you can make the argument if you were the best choice. Can you really make that case as a collective group? What's up, Marathon Man? Appreciate that. Appreciate the super chat. What did he say? Yep. Who else? What's up, Darth Masculinus? I appreciate that. I already went over like the few minutes I wanted to say. Let me do a little bit of commentary on what y'all saying. No, and I agree with most. Like I said, man, and by the way, he threw out there, I'm not saying like Angel Ramirez. I love that because light-skinned dudes really need to delineate because Angel gets a lot of visibility. So, I should do a video about how I feel. Everybody should do their individual videos on how they feel about black women. I mean, me personally, I deal with women on a case-by-case basis. I honestly drag more non-black women than black women as far as in real life, to be honest with you. I get, a lot of people don't realize that because they come in this space expecting the same shit that like a lot of these other dudes are going to do, which is gas their ass up. Tell them you're queen, you're great. There's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect. If everybody just that's what they expect. So they come in the manosphere with some real shit. And then because they're not being given that, all of a sudden it's hate. No, it's not hate. It's real. Can you actually disprove what we're talking about? Because the manosphere would not matter if, what black men said would not matter if women were overall getting what they really wanted to be getting out of them. So anyway, let's see what y'all got. Shout out Mr. Pump and Dump, Scott Haywood. What's up, Super Triz? Like I said, Marcus, Craig the tech guy. So, yeah, here you go, Gab. Gab eyeballing as usual. Gab got mad at me. Talking about, nigga, you just whining. Da 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 da. This shit's funny as hell, man. Using religion to try to undercut intermixing. I mean, BGS did a great video on that. And there's a lot of dudes that think that way, by the way. There's a lot of dudes that think they could just will their way to make a better way. The reality is that's the problem with like all opinions matter type mindsets. At the end of the day, man, motherfuckers are fucking. You can't stop it. And the only way to really help, like somebody would say, okay, be productive. What is a productive thing to say on that topic? Okay, if you really want to curb race mixing, then at the end of the day, women have to be the better option. They don't have to be, black women don't have to be the best option. Like they don't have to be on paper, on a report card. They do not have to beat out any other race in every other metric. The fact that they're black women can carry some weight as far as race. Because a man has lineage that he cares about. And black men are formatted to care about lineage. But it can't be that that's just the X factor to X out everything. It just can't. And if I'm going to be productive, the first thing I would tell sisters is you all have to put black men in a position where they want to compete for you. How do you do that? You have to elevate your own when I say status, you have to elevate your own brand. The black female brand is horrible. It's horrible right now. Yeah, you all got the hardware, which now women are demonstrating naturally, unnaturally, they can duplicate. What kept them out of that hardware was more their own men, more so genetics, even though some of it is genetics. And this is why I bring up a Marilyn Negra. A Marilyn Negra is the template. She is the template. And this is not even just for being with black men. You all should do that so you all have better dating options. But this is where we get into the competition where, and black women don't feel like they have to compete. They think competing is bowing down to black men, where really competing is elevating their brand in order for them to have the best options, whether they're black, whether ADOS black, whether they're non-black, whether they're Caribbean, whether they're African, whatever. It's about their best options. Other women understand that. Other women understand that they have their brand on top of the group brand, which is them and their men. But they still protect their brand too. This is why their men, they don't push back on their men doing certain things, you know, even though there's a cost with that. And this is why I brought up a Marilyn Negra, because she's a perfect example of what that actually can look like. But a lot of black people rejected a Marilyn Negra. First of all, talking this shit that she looks like a white woman. Even though when you look at her features, you want to do the featureism test, she passes the featureism test. She passes it with the nose. She's bigger than most women as far as like you actually put her up against a white woman. She is built like a black woman, you know. She's, whether it's her fro or not, she's putting the fro out there and putting it on the table. But see, people don't want to hear that. They wanted to find a way to get around that, and that shit told me a lot about who they really want to gravitate to. They don't want to gravitate. They want to gravitate towards the bad bitch types. Well, the problem with being a bad bitch is nobody wants to wife up a bad bitch. Motherfuckers will fuck a bad bitch. They typically don't want to wife a bad bitch up. A bad bitch at best is a girlfriend. At best. Really a side piece. Rarely commitment value. Being a bad bitch is like driving, not even like a Ferrari, but driving like a Nissan GTR. Like if you lease that shit or you get on Turo and say, yeah, it's cool to say I drove it, but I'm not owning the shit. I'm not owning the shit because why? The only thing you could do is go fast and not even go the fastest. So, and I think that would be a good stream. I think that would be a really good stream in talking about what it would take to actually rehabilitate the black female brand as far as for it to be competitive. But this thing about saying that, you know, white people don't like it, white people don't want, and to be fair to Gab, O'Shea says a lot of, he doesn't use religion, but he says a lot of the same shit. If you've been listening to his videos, he says a lot of the same shit about that. Talking about, well, white people don't want you, they don't want to live with you, you know, Hispanics don't want to do this, they hate you. But the thing about it, what people don't understand is you're not marrying white people. You're not fucking white people. You're fucking an individual. So what the group wants to do, even though that has concern, that's not going to move people. Now, if you're a nigga, if you're a black man or fuck black women, if you're a black man that's under any delusions, you're under any delusions that by you fucking one, get them likes up too for me. By you fucking one white person and how white people feel about you is different, you're a fucking moron. And then this is where them motherfuckers don't want you comes into play. If something happened to you, you're fucking stupid. Because that means this is why I say don't go red pill for black women only to remain blue pill for non-black women. Because they have their fuckery too. And that part of that is their dynamic. But what people think is they think they're going to say, because a group doesn't want to fuck with you, then all of a sudden you're just going to be exclusive to like one person. Or one group. That's a way of getting around what the other group needs to do. At the end of the day, if black men say fuck the race, then at that point it's really up to what black women want to do. If they say that the bar has been brought so low, to the extent that I don't care that keeping it black, I'm done with that. Or you don't even have to do that. You can go intercultural if you really want to make that change, which has its own issues, but it is an option, you know. Then what are you going to do? So, and the problem is the community is way too much geared in shaming black men. Now, I'm past like what his video was. I was just doing that to do a test. I may even change the title, but the point is, the community's go-to is to shame black men. Just like the Democrats have a go-to when it comes to not giving us shit. They want to say people of color. Then they want to basically gas up black. They do everything they can in order to not give black people shit or give black people something that's useful. Right? So it's the same thing. As a community, we have our own go-tos. Yeah, I mean, I joke around about the Klan shit. At the end of the day, they're on the same page when it comes to throwing black men under the bus. But at the end of the day, that's where it really stops, and that's why you really see a lot of black women aggravate. Like, to be honest with you, I have my thoughts on a lot of these George Floyd marches, because a lot of this is motherfuckers just using it as an attention grab. Marcus A. Brown said, yeah, Molston Road, ABL 87. Yep. And that's not even always true as far as black women college. I know a single mother with a master's degree right now that's waiting on me to pay for a date. She's still waiting. Ha ha ha. Yeah, man. Because thinking in income and thinking in wealth is two completely different things. And I think, honestly, I think that would be a great topic for Master Teacher. Do certain women think in income or do they think in wealth? Because when you think yeah, wealth skills is not necessarily learned in school, let alone college. And I'm sure he knows that more than I do, being a finance guy. How to budget, this is not. And the problem is, people want to talk about an income. If you tell me you make $1,000 a month, I'm not taking nothing away from that. But also, if you're going to look at it from a financial position, what region are you making that in? What area are you making that in? What is your disposable income? How can you make it more disposable? Are you lifestyle spending? Are you investing? Because it's not so much about lifestyle spending. It's that, do you have the wealth things in place in order for the lifestyle spending to not overtake your wealth creation? But most women, especially our women, but American women in general, are not programmed to think in wealth. They're just not. I'm not a professor, Mace. I'm just a thinker. Janaea Moore, I'm going straight at her. I mean, at the end of the day, man, and what you see is it's not just the typical black female that thinks that. Janae represents more of an American issue. You talking about a Marilyn Negra? Yeah, and you know what, man? Like, I don't know. Honestly, my personal opinion is black men should not give a fuck about if black women date black men, black non-white men. I'm not saying you don't gotta you see that as a negative, because the difference between a black man dating out and a black woman dating out is a black woman expects to be taken care of, or she expects for her lifestyle or something like that to be paid for. It's never a 50-50 partnership. Women don't expect that. So a man has a right to have those be choosier like that, versus a dude could be just dating non-black women for sexual access. Even if it's a preference, the fact that he's with you still means that he obviously puts you in a different category. What's up, Anthony Taylor? You're down to 3 to 5% after that list. Yeah, you're right. The one traded. And by the way, Kevin Samuels spoke to that. Kevin Samuels spoke to that point. And you got to remember that. But I get why, because these women are looking at it from they're not looking at it from like a logical perspective. They're just not. So I don't expect them to either. What's up, Omega Tech? Wrote 007, Pinoys, Latins, white women, Etrians, Ados coming. But here's the thing. Okay, and I'm gonna end this video with some positive. If a black female, what's up down by Riverside? If she wasn't dating a white guy, don't mean she want men. So why should I care? Exactly. So let me say this. I'm gonna end this video with actually some positive shit. If you were a black female listening to this video and you made it to the end, congratulations. You've done what most can't, including dudes, because I run my mouth a lot. 40 minutes, and I said it was going to be a 10-minute video. Here's the good thing. Black women as a group have set the bar so low, and American women, quite frankly, have set the bar so low. Black women have set it lower. ADOS as a group. that you're being looked at in context to all black women. So the bar is literally like just doing a skip step over in order to pass the bar. The shit you would have had to do in the 90s to get a decent guy is not the same shit you have to do in the now. Like when women always talk about this being ultra submissive and doing all this extra shit, you don't have to do that now. Not to the extent that you would have been, because the women have lowered the bar. I shouldn't even be telling you this, but the reality of the situation, if you're a chick that's like a round the way girl, you like to have fun, but you ain't like in constant, I need to be always hyper, my sensations just need to be hyper stimulated because I'm a chaos junkie, or I gotta be out there all the time, then the reality is you have an advantage. And all you gotta do is be better than the other chicks. Cause that's what you're gonna be judged on. Cause most of these niggas are not going overseas. Most of these niggas ain't really exploring their options like that. That's something that's growing, but that's not growing at a like really exponential rate. The zillennials are on their own shit. But the reality is, if you're like really a 6, but a 7, if you're a 6 with something that pops, like an ass, and then you're easy to be around, you're gonna have dudes. You know, that just is what it is. If you have a certain sense of understanding you gotta give to get, you're gonna be in a much better position. I don't know, Roastmaster. That may come, but I don't know. I don't know. I haven't done an email on that yet. But yeah, so that's the good news. The good news is the bar is so low. It's really nothing to jump over at this point. And that's what a lot of people don't want to really look at. So, you know, like I said, that's real, that's facts. So anyway, with that being said, yeah, what's up, John Doe? Anyway, I'm in this video because one thing I've learned about this phone, and I appreciate, I don't think I tear him up. I don't think I tear him up. But because the thing about him, thing about Obsidian is Obsidian is he's a very good formal debater. He's kind of like Anthony Brown Logan. And I just don't have the patience for that shit. So he'd anticipate certain things that like a lot of the people do. Look, man, I'm not somebody that tries to act like I'm all that, but I know when I got a point and I know when I'm right, I'm right. So anyway, with that being said, y'all appreciate it. This is